Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name's Danielle, aka D the Biblio, and I'm here to do my July wrap up. So, July was a good reading month for me. I read 11 books. I did take a very long vacation down to the Outer Banks with my book club, and it was a 12-hour drive either way, and I drove by myself. So I did listen to a lot of audiobooks this month, but I'm just going to give you a quick rundown of the books that I read and what I thought of them. The first thing that I did this month was participate in Summerween, which is a week-long reading challenge for reading horror books in summertime, because we all wish it was Halloween. It was hosted by Gabby Reads and Olivia Reads a Latte. There were a lot of different prompts. I was able to fulfill all of them. However, I did double dip. So I'm just going to run through the 3 books that I read for that. The first one I read on my Kindle. It was Never Have I Ever by Joshilyn Jackson. If you notice me looking up here, I have another screen and I have my spreadsheet open up here, so I'm reading off of that. Never Have I Ever by Joshilyn Jackson. It's a thriller. It was about a group of women who they get together for their I think it's book club, and there's a newcomer to the town, and she comes in and has everybody play a game of Never Have I Ever. It's the weirdest game of Never Have I Ever that I've ever heard of. That's a lot of evers. But they are going through, like, what's the worst thing that you did this week? What's the worst thing that you did this month? What's the worst thing that you did this year? What's the worst thing that you did ever? And it turns out that the narrator had done some pretty shady stuff in the past, and it comes out, and then she's struggling with it, and struggling with how to keep it secret, and how to survive while everything's going on. So it's really good. It wasn't for me. It wasn't my favorite book that I've ever read. I read a lot of thrillers, and this was pretty predictable. Sorry, my air conditioning just kicked on. If you can hear that in the background, it is hot. Well, it's not that hot out right now. It's very humid. So it's clearing the air a little bit here. But anyway, so I got it from my library, on audiobook and ebook, and I like to pair them together. I find that it helps me read a lot quicker, and it helps me stay engaged, especially if I'm not really into a book. So I ended up reading it that way, which was very good for me, because it helped me get through it, even though it wasn't my favorite. And I ended up giving it 3 stars. The next book that I read, I liked a lot more. It's The Patient by Jasper Dewitt. It's kind of a short one, but it was so good. I'm sorry, my allergies are killing me and my eyes are watering right now, so you may see eyeliner just running down my face. But anyway, The Patient by Jasper Dewitt, it's a pretty short one. This one was actually a gift from somebody in my book club for my birthday, from Rachel. So she gave this to me for my birthday, and I was so excited to read it. And then one of the prompts for Summerween was a horror novel. And it was actually a horror paranormal, and this one does have some paranormal stuff in it. It's very good. It's about a doctor who is working at an insane asylum, and one of the patients he's legendary, let's put it that way. And it's how he goes about getting himself assigned to this patient, and then, the inevitable outcome. But it is very, very good. I liked this one a lot. I gave it 5 stars. The next book that I read on my Kindle, and it was Kill River by Cameron Roubique. This was a horror novel. It's a slasher. The characters in it are very young, but I would say that it's geared towards adults, so I did classify it as an adult horror novel, even though the kids are like 8th grade or 9th grade, maybe. They're very young, and very sexually active for kids of that age. But anyway, it's about a group of kids who go to a summer camp, and then, they decide that they don't want to be there anymore, so they escape from said summer camp on a raft and end up in a, I don't want to say abandoned because it's not open yet, but there aren't any other people there. But it's a water park, and it sounds very cool. I would have loved to visit this water park if it weren't for the insane killer that's roaming the grounds trying to kill them all. And it is very graphic, but also very good. This is the first of a trilogy. I did go ahead and buy the other two, but I haven't read them yet. But it was very good. It was very entertaining. It was very fast paced. It was very enjoyable. I gave it 4 stars. I feel like the gore was a little excessive for the storyline, but it was very good. I'm looking forward to reading the rest of them. Then, after that, I went on vacation. So I got in the car and I drove down to North Carolina, and I decided to listen to an audiobook on my way there. And I started with Dr. Sleep by Stephen King, which is the follow-up to The Shining. I read The Shining last year, and I really liked it. I do find that Mr. King, although legendary as an author, is a little long-winded. However, I do enjoy his stories, so I do read a lot of them. In fact, all of these books on this shelf here are all by Stephen King. I do like his storylines a lot. I find that listening to them on audiobook, as well as reading along, I get very immersed in the story itself and in the world that he has created. And I find it a lot easier to get through than just picking up a chunker like this and trying to read through it. Anyway, The Shining, I read that last year. I gave it 5 stars. The Dr. Sleep, I read it this year, or I listened to it on audiobook. I didn't actually crack this puppy, but I do have it on my shelf because look at that cover. Like, I love that. I love that. But anyway, so I ended up giving this one 3.5 stars. I found that it was very long for the storyline, and there was a lot of stuff in there that I just didn't care about because I didn't feel that it had any bearing on the outcome. But anyway, it follows Danny Torrance as an adult, and his trying to overcome alcoholism and dealing with still having the Shining. It's also about another girl named Abra who also has the Shining, and she is she's younger, she's 12, and they end up creating this like psychological bond, and it's really good. There was a movie that came out based on this last October or November, that was also enjoyable. I did like the book a lot better than the movie, but I'm a book reader, so I tend to anyway. The next book that I read was Solitaire by Alice Oseman. I have read and loved all of the Heartstopper graphic novels, so I wanted to read the book that started it all. This book, it's about Charlie's older sister, Tori, I think is her name. Is it Tori? I don't remember now. But I can't remember her name. But it's about Charlie Spring's older sister, and her year. I did like the book a lot. It was really good to get back into the world of Charlie and Nick, and get to know a little bit more about their background, their families, and all that kind of stuff. But it wasn't as engaging as the Heartstopper graphic novels are. So I did give it 4.5 stars, even though I did love it very, very much and would recommend it to anybody who has read the Heartstopper graphic novels, or just anybody who wants to read a very good high school drama, and everything like that. So the next book that I listened to was One by One by Ruth Ware. I love Ruth Ware. I have read a lot of her backlist. I've read The Woman in Cabin 10. I've read The Death of Mrs. Westaway. I have read The Turn of the Key. I own The Lying Game, but I haven't read it yet. I mean, I just love Ruth Ware. And this one, it wasn't my favorite, but it was very, very good. It was pretty predictable for a Ruth Ware novel. Usually I can't figure out who done it before the end, because she is very Agatha Christie-esque. This one, I figured it out pretty quickly, but it made me second guess myself, as the story was going on. But it was very, very good. It was very reminiscent of, And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie, which is another isolated, close circle mystery. I feel like I'm missing a word in there. But it was very, very good. It was very enjoyable. And I loved listening to it. I feel like Imogen Church, who reads most, if not all, of Ruth Ware's audiobooks, she has such a great voice for the way that Ruth writes, and the way that she conveys panic and like not understanding what's going on around her it's so good. It's so good. I love listening to her voice. She has read a couple of other audiobooks that I've listened to, which I didn't like as much, but the Ruth Ware ones she does very well. Anyway, on to the next. The next book that I listened to was My Sweet Audrina by V.C. Andrews. V.C. Andrews is one of those authors that I just love her. It's like a guilty pleasure. I started where I think everybody started, with the Flowers in the Attic series when I was in high school. I was very young in high school when I read them, which I feel like is a statement that a lot of people make, is I was way too young to read this. But anyway, My Sweet Audrina, it's about a girl named Audrina, and her growing up. So it starts when she's 7, and then ends after she's married, and she's older. I think her husband has graduated college, and it's very good. It keeps you guessing, and there's a lot of mystery in this one. And it's not quite the thriller type mystery where you're trying to figure out who done it, but you're trying to figure out what's going on with this character. There's a lot that she's not telling you. There's a lot that she doesn't know, and there's a lot that she doesn't remember. So it's very interesting to try to get through what's going on with Audrina and her cousin Vera. Vera? Yeah, Vera. I am terrible with names of characters. If they're not on the back of the book, I pretty much can't remember them, and I'm not holding this book because it's in my storage unit. I do own it. I bought it from a flea market when I was in college. But it's in my storage unit, so I can't hold it up. But anyway, it was very good. I gave it 4.25 stars. I don't think I told you what I gave One by One. One by One, I gave 4 stars. Anyway, My Sweet Audrina, I gave 4.25 stars. I did really enjoy it, but it wasn't the same as the Dollenganger series, which I heard there's a new one that just came out, so I'm gonna have to read that one. Anyway, on to the next. So the next book that I read was back to thrillers, and I read The Maidens by Alex Michaelides. I read The Silent Patient by him last year, and I really enjoyed it. So when this one came out, I couldn't wait to get my hands on it. This is a thriller. It's a dark academia thriller. It's about a woman who goes to her alma mater to help her niece, Zoe, because Zoe has contacted her that one of her friends has been murdered and she needs help. So it goes through, there's this group of girls on the campus called the Maidens. They all work with this one professor named Edward Fosca. Yes. And Mariana is convinced that Edward is the murderer, and it's about her trying to convince the police that he is the murderer as well. This was very good. It wasn't as good as The Silent Patient, I don't think, but I know a lot of people disagree with me on that. I gave this 4 stars. The next book that I read, you guys are actually with me when I read it. It was The Saturday Night Ghost Club by Craig Davidson. This is a horror novel. It's a coming of age ghost story. I think I told you all about it in my last vlog, but this book was so good. It's about a teenage boy living in Niagara Falls, and about him and his uncle and his circle of friends who decide to become ghost hunters, pretty much. So they're going to different places to try to commune with the spirits there, and it's so good. It's very heartfelt at the end, and oh, so good. Anyway, I gave this 5 stars. It was great. It's pretty short, and awesome for a weekend reading vlog. The next book that I read, you guys were also with me when I read it. It was The Amityville Horror by J. Anson. So for those of you who don't know, this book is about a family who moves into a house where the previous owners were all killed by one of the inhabitants. So the Lutz family moves into a house in Long Island that was previously owned by the DeFeos, and Ronnie DeFeo shot and killed his entire family in the house. So as they're going through, the father starts having some issues, and so does the mother, and some issues with just the house itself. So this book, it's spooky, it's creepy, it's weird. It's not the best storytelling that I have ever read, but it was enjoyable. I gave it 4 stars in the end. I know I was debating on that at the end of my weekend reading vlog, but I ended up giving it 4 stars. And the last book that I read this week, and that was That Night by Chevy Stevens. This was a thriller. It was about a woman who, her sister gets murdered when they're in high school, and she and her boyfriend end up getting arrested and tried and convicted for the murder. And then it starts out with her going out on parole, and her struggles with trying to convey and investigate, convey her innocence and investigate the murder so that she can prove her innocence. It was really, really good. I gave it 5 stars, and then subsequently bought pretty much her entire backlist. So anyway, Chevy Stevens, another great thriller writer that I am looking forward to reading more in the future. All right, so that's the end of my wrap-up. I read 11 books. I gave most of them 4 or 5 stars. I had 1 3-star. I had 1 3.5 star. I had 4 4 stars, 1 4.25 stars, 1 4.5 star, and 3 5 stars. So that's a really good reading month. 3 5-star books. So this month I am participating in Bookish Jeopardy with my book club. So I won't know my prompts until the day of. But I'm also participating in the Spooky Smart Bitch Readathon, which is hosted by Jordaline Reads. I will link her in the description box below. I will link her video. But she has some really great prompts this year. One of them is a horror by an LGBTQIA+ author. One is a translated work. One is one that you've never seen before on social media. One is by a horror by a BIPOC author. And then another one by a woman author, which, you know, we always need to read more women authors. Reading a horror manga, and another one that needs to be based on a true story or is true crime. So I have a list of books that I'm hoping that I can fit into one or more prompts for this, including The Drowning Girl by Caitlin R. Kiernan. This one, it sounds really spooky, really atmospheric, it sounds really good. And Caitlin, from what I read online, is a transgender author. So I am looking forward to reading that. I've never seen it before on social media. I may just be living under a rock, but I haven't seen it. So I'm going to use that to double dip with a horror by an LGBTQIA author, and never before seen on social media. For a BIPOC author, I picked The Good House by Tananarive Due, but I picked that for the BIPOC author, The Good House by Tananarive Due. I don't know a lot about it, but it sounds really good. I've heard a lot of good things about it from other booktubers, and I'm looking forward to reading that one. For translated and manga together, I am going to read Gyo, or I'm not sure how you pronounce that. It's Gyo by Junji Ito. I haven't read any of his stuff before, but I'm looking forward to reading it. I was gifted this book for Christmas by my friend Jackie, and I am very excited to read it. For woman author, I may just use The Good House, or I might read Baby Teeth by Zoja Stage. I was watching Jordaline's channel, and she had some horror authors on to talk about their favorite books, and Zoja was one of them, and it made me want to read Baby Teeth. I've owned it for a little while, but I've never actually read it. So I think I might do that one for the woman author. And then based on a true story or true crime, I have wanted to read If You Tell by Greg Olson for the past month or so, ever since my friend Jacqueline read it. And oh my gosh, I am so looking forward to reading this book. It is true crime, but from what I've heard, it reads kind of like a thriller, so I am looking forward to reading that one. There is a group read as well, which is The Taking of Jake Livingston. This one I haven't got my hands on yet, so I'm not sure if I'll be participating in that one, but if I do, I will be. So anyway, so that's my July wrap up and my, really quick, just mentioning a few things for my August TBR. I am looking forward to creating some more content for you all. Let me know if there's something that you want to see. If you want to see more weekend reading vlogs rather than a weekly, because I tend to be very busy during the week. If you want to see some recommendation videos, let me know what you want to see. Thank you so much for watching this. If you've made it this far, leave me a pride flag for Caitlin in the comments, if you've made it this far. And something that I didn't say in my last video, but I'm going to say in this one, and I'm going to be saying moving forward. If you like this content, please feel free to subscribe or give me a thumbs up. Every little bit helps. I'm creating this for you and also for myself because I enjoy it. So let me know what you think, and I hope you enjoy it. So I hope you all have a great week and a wonderful August, and I will talk to you all very soon. Bye!